Hi there, welcome to this tutorial. My name is Emmanuel. If you're a new subscriber, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notification icon so that you will be notified when we post a new video. If you're an old subscriber, thank you for subscribing to our channel and thank you for coming back. In this video tutorial, we're going to be creating the promotional flyer on our screen. This is an Easter promotional flyer I created for a client recently and the satisfaction was 100%. Without further ado, let's get started. Now the first thing you want to do is to create your design canvas. And to create our design canvas, we are going to create a default page by clicking on the default icon here. So we'll click on it and we'll click OK. So the next thing we want to do is to delete the text on our canvas, and then we'll head on to the delete icon and we'll delete the text layer because we don't need it for now. The next thing we want to do is to input the size for our design, and because we are designing for social media, we want it to be a square, and the size for this design is 1500 by 1500 pixels. So we'll head on to the three dots on the top right corner of our screen, and then we'll select image size, and then we'll change the dimension. We'll change our width to 1500 pixels, and we'll change our height to 1500 pixels, and then we'll click on OK. For every design, the first thing you're supposed to do is to design your background, because that is the basis of your design and all other elements will be on top of your background. Now to create our background, we're going to head on to the plus icon on the top left corner of our screen, and we'll add a shape. We'll scale it downward, and then we'll position it at the center of our page nicely, and then we'll click on OK. The next thing we want to do is to change the background for our design, and for this background we are going to use a combination of an orange and yellow gradient, and we'll also have an ash texture. So to change the background of our shape, we'll head on to the shape option here, and then we'll head on to color, and then we'll activate the color, and then we'll select gradient. So to edit our gradient, we hit the plus icon, and then we'll select the gradient by the left, and then we'll hit on the edit icon, and then we'll click the pen icon here to change the hex code to the hex code I'll be giving. So the hex code for the yellow color we'll be using is FFD900, and then we'll check from here, and then we'll click on OK, and we'll click on OK again. Now we have the yellow color. So the next off, we'll click on this grayish black here, and then we'll edit it, and then we'll hit on the pen icon here. We'll change the hex code from what we have there to the orange hex code, which is FF8200, and then we'll check from here, and then we'll click on OK, and then we'll click OK again. Now we have our gradient in place, and then we'll adjust it a bit, and we'll change the direction a bit, and we'll click on OK. Now the next thing we want to do is to add the ash texture we have on our design there. So to do that, we're simply going to add another shape, and this time around we're going to add a circle because of the effect we want to achieve. So we'll add a circle, and then we'll scale it down to get the effect we want. We'll scale it down like this all the way, and then if we are satisfied with it, we'll click on OK. So I guess I'm satisfied with this, and I'll click OK. So the next thing you observe on this circle is, on our previous design we don't have a circular edge here and another circular edge here. So what we have there is a straight edge, and then to achieve that here, we're going to do some manipulations. So we'll head on to the shape option, and we'll add a shape there. We're going to add a square there, and then we'll try to position it neatly just to get a straight edge there, and we'll click on OK, and we'll unselect it to confirm. So it's not placed perfectly, so we'll just adjust it by using this positioning option. So we'll reduce the positioning down to 1, and then we'll increase it a bit, and we'll click on OK, and we'll check to see if it's okay. So I'll rotate it a bit like this, or let me use the rotation option here. So rotate, and then like this, and then I'll click on OK, and then I'll check. So it's looking okay. So I'll copy the shape, and then I'll bring it downward here, and I'll place it somewhere here, and I'll use the rotation option, and then I'll rotate, and I'll check. So I'll use the positioning option to position it properly, and then I'll rotate it a bit to also get it properly, and then I'll check. Okay, I'll use the positioning option again just to ensure it is positioned properly. So I think it's okay. So we'll head on to the layer option here, and then we'll try to group our shapes together so that they will become a single shape. So we'll merge them together, we'll accept, and then we have them grouped together as a single shape. So the next thing we want to do is to add our ash texture to this cycle. So we'll head on to the shape option here, and we'll select a texture we have on our phone here. So click on select from gallery, and then we'll locate the texture, which is this, and then we'll check. So we have our texture nicely here. So the next thing we want to add is our text, and the text we have, the first text we have there is the Easter promo. So the first text there is Easter, so we'll add the text, drag it to the center, and double tap to edit. So we'll tap our text there, we'll have Easter, and we'll click on OK. So what we want to do is to change the font of this text. So we'll select the text option, and then we'll head down to font, and then we'll change the font. So the font I'll be using for this is a font I downloaded from Google, and it is called Scriptina. So if you want to follow this tutorial, you can check it out. So activate the text, and we'll click on OK. And then the next thing we want to do is to change the color, and then we'll be using a gradient as well. And because we have used this gradient before, so we have it there. So we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to increase our size. So we'll increase it all the way to 55, and we'll have it there, and we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to add the promo text. So we'll click on the text option, and then we'll drag it down, and we'll double tap, and then we'll type promo, and we have it there neatly. So we'll click on OK, and then we'll change the font as well to something bolder. We'll use this, OK, and then we'll change the color as well to another gradient. And then for this gradient, we want to play around with it a bit. So we'll add this, and then we'll drag it this way, and we'll take it up a bit, change the direction a bit, and we'll click on OK. And I think this is okay. So we'll click. So the next thing we want to do is to increase the size. So I'll change this to 55. So I'll click on OK. So the next thing I want to do is to give the text a stroke. So I will select the stroke option, and then I'll enable the stroke, and then I'll select here to edit. I have a hex code, so I'll select this pen option here, and then I'll delete this. And then the hex code for this gradient is FFD900. So that's the hex code for this gradient. So I'll check here. Okay, this is the hex code for the yellow gradient. So the hex code for this stroke is 03590B, and I'll check. So I'll copy it. so that it will be easier for me to paste it for the next one. And I'll click on OK, and I'll click OK, and then I'll increase it all the way to 10, and then I'll click okay, let me increase it to 12, and then I'll click on OK. So the next thing is to select the Easter text and select the stroke, enable the stroke, and then I already have the color here, so I'll increase it to 8, and I'll click on OK. So the next thing I want to do is to increase the text for this Easter a bit to make it bigger than how it is. So I'll take it up to 60, and I will leave it that way. So I'll use the relative positioning option to position my text to the center. So I'll position the promo text to the center, relative positioning, and I'll position it vertically to the center, and I'll select this and I'll also position it vertically to the center. But then from our design, our Easter text is not positioned in the center, so I'll just position it neatly in the way it's supposed to be. So I'll position it like this. Okay, let me undo, or let me use the positioning option to position my text properly. So I have it like this, and then like this. Let me reduce it a bit, and then I have it like this. So but it's looking a bit smaller, so let me increase the Easter font to 65, and then I'll use the positioning option to position it like this, and then I think it's perfect. So but if you notice, our Easter text, the R there is cutting out, so we'll fix that by increasing the padding. So we'll select the option, and then we'll increase the padding to the right, and then we'll click on OK. So we are able to fix that. So the next thing we want to do is to group our layer. So before you group your layer, you ensure that you are done with what you are doing and you are sure, because once you group your layer, you can't ungroup it again. Once you match your layers and you have done multiple action, you can't go back again. So we'll merge these two layers together, and then we'll click on OK. So we'll drag it all the way to the top there. So the next thing we want to create is the text below our layer, and this text is the name of the Anglo company, or the feet company. So we'll click on the text option here and we'll drag it all the way. We'll double click to edit, and then we'll type it. We have at Anoteron vet. That's the name of the vet company there. So next thing we want to do is to change the color. So we'll change the color to red, and then we'll also change the size to something smaller. Let's say 20 is small, 25, and then we'll increase the letter spacing. So we'll increase the letter spacing like this, and then so let me undo. You would like to be locking your layers in place so that they don't move around when you're working. So you lock them and you put them in place. So we'll drag this and we'll take it up a bit, and we have it here, and it's placed neatly. So the next thing we want to add is a stroke to this text as well. So we'll just add a light stroke to it, and then we'll have it like this, a black stroke, and then we'll reduce it to 2, and we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to add a shadow to our text. So we'll click on shadow, and then we'll reduce the blur radius all the way down to 2. Okay, let's make it 3. I'll click on OK. I'll also add a radius. Let me reduce this blur radius effect to 2 because I don't want it all that much. So we also add a blur radius to this. We'll add a shadow effect. Sorry, add a shadow effect to this, and then we'll make it 1 px, and then we'll click on OK. So we'll have it neatly over here. So the next thing we want to do is to bring in our subject. So I have a picture of this subject I downloaded, or this lady I downloaded from unsplash.com. So, and I've worked on the background already. So no, this is not the picture. This is not what I intend to add. So I've worked on the background before. So I have a picture on my gallery I would like to use. So this is the picture. So I'll crop it down a bit, and then I'll add it to my design. So I'll bring it downward, and then I'll scale it up, and then I'll place it somewhere here neatly, and then I'll place it up somewhere here neatly. But if you notice from the picture, you can see that we have a sharp edge around this place, and we want to fix that because we won't want it to look awkward. So we'll select the picture, and then we'll select the option. We'll select the shape option, and then we'll head down to erase, and then we'll increase the blur of our brush. I'll increase the size a bit, and then we'll erase, and we'll have it there neatly. I will click OK. So it's looking nice. Now that we have our subject, the next thing we want to add is the Ultima poultry feed. That's the back of the feet. So I have it on my gallery. So I head on to the plus icon here, and I'll select from my gallery, and then I'll locate the Ultima poultry feet, and then I'll select it, and I'll just do a little adjustment to it here, and I'll adjust it also here, and then I'll click on OK. So I'll place it down here, and then I'll scale it up a bit, and then I'll place it over here, and then scale it up a bit, and then I would like to duplicate it so that I'll have the second version of it. So I'll click on the copy option, and then I'll place this over here as well, and then I'll scale it out a little bit, and then I'll select this and then pull it in a bit, and then I'll pull it in a bit, and then I'll also select this and I'll take it downward a bit. So it's looking perfect. So the next thing I want to do is, if you notice, the bottom of our feet from the previous design is coming inside the layer, is coming from inside the layer. So to achieve that, we're going to add another shape here. We'll add another shape on top here, and then we'll drag it downward, and then place it over here neatly, and then we'll change the color to an orange color so that it fits in with our background here. And then I want to erase the part of this so that it blends properly. So I'll increase this, and then I'll erase it neatly like this, and I'll click on OK. So we have it blended properly. So I will use the positioning option to position it up a bit. So I'll reduce the movement to 1 pixel, and I'll take it up like this, and I'll click on OK. So it's looking perfect. So the next thing we want to add is the Ultima spatial text. The next thing we want to add is the Ultima spatial text. So we'll click on the plus icon, and then we'll add a text, and then we'll double click and we edit it to Ultima. So I'll break it down to have the spatial there. So Ultima spatial. So we have it there, and we'll click on OK. So we'll bring it to the center here, and the next thing we want to do is to change the font. So to achieve that, I'll click on the text option here, and then I'll select the font here. So there's a font I downloaded from Google. The name of the font is Britannic Bold. So you can check it out on Google, it's free. So Britannic Bold, we'll select it, and then we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to increase the size of our font. So we'll come down to size here, and then we'll increase it to 50 px. I will have it this way. I'll increase it again by 5 px so that it will pop up a bit, and I will place it somewhere here nicely. And then we want to take our subject downward a bit so that it will look as if our subject is pointing at the text. So we'll reduce our subject a bit. I'll place it downward neatly this way. So the next thing we want to do to our Ultima spatial text is to give it a texture. So add a texture we have from our phone here, and the texture we'll be using is the same texture we have for our background. So we'll select the texture, and then we'll click on OK, and then we'll also give it a stroke, a black stroke, so that it will have the black effect around and make our text readable. So we'll give it a stroke, and the stroke is going to be 10 pixels. So we'll increase our text a bit. I'll have it placed neatly over here, and then it's perfect. So the next thing we want to do is to increase this text a bit, and then we'll bring it up a little bit, and then we'll use the relative position option to position it to the center vertically. I'll also position this to the center vertically. So we'll also position this to the center vertically, and we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to group our Easter text and the text layer below it together, so that we'll be able to move them together. So we'll merge them together, and then they are now movable together. So the next thing we want to have is we want to have another version of this Ultima portrait fit behind our design. So we'll duplicate this, and then we'll place it here, and then we'll hold it and bring it down all the way, and we have it over here. So we'll take it up a bit, and then we'll rotate it nicely like this, and we'll take it down. So the next thing we want to do is to reduce the opacity to make it look faint. So reduce the opacity all the way to 20, or let's reduce it down to 15, and then we'll have it over here like this. I'll click OK to check. Now that we have our feet placed neatly on the background, the next thing we want to bring in is the barcode. And then I have the barcode on my phone as well, so click on the plus icon here and we'll select from the gallery, and then we'll locate the barcode, and here it is. So we'll scale it down so that it will be easy for us to work with, and then we'll scale it down all the way, and we'll scale it down like this, and then we'll scale it down, and then we'll click on OK. So we want to crop it down, and then we'll drag it here, we'll crop it down again, and I will place it here neatly. So we have it there perfectly. So the next thing we want to bring in is our address icon. So because we are adding a location, we want to add an icon there. So we'll select from gallery. So we have the icon here. So crop it a bit, and then we'll click OK. So we'll drag it all the way down, and then we want to position it somewhere here. So let's undo it. So because we are dealing with a really small icon, we're going to use the positioning option here, and then we'll bring it down. So let's take it all the way, and then we'll bring it downward like this, and then we'll position it this way. So we have it here neatly, and then we'll click on OK. So we'll change the color to red, and then we'll give it a shadow effect. We'll have a shadow there, so we'll reduce the blur radius all the way to 4px, and we'll click on OK. So the next thing we'll love to add is the address. So we'll click on the plus icon, so we add the text, and then we'll drag it downward, and we'll double click to edit. So erase this text, and the address we have here is c.w.c plaza, comma do junction, comma, and then we'll break it down. Local Benue State. So we'll click on it, and then we'll have to work on our text. So we'll change the size, and we'll reduce the size to 20px, bring it downward a bit, and then we'll increase the width of the text by changing the style and making it bold. So the next thing we want to do is to position the text properly by using the positioning option. So we'll bring it down, and then we'll position it neatly here, and then we'll click on OK. So we have it there neatly. So we want to adjust it a bit to be away from the icon, so we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to add is the date from when the promo starts and from when it ends. So we're going to click on our text layer, and we'll type a text from So we have from, and then the font we'll be using for this is taken by Vulture. So it's a text I also downloaded from Google, and it's also a free text, so you can check it out. So we'll change the font, and then I'll go to my fonts and I have taken by Vulture here. So we have it there. So the next thing we want to do is to increase the spacing between the letters. So we increase the spacing between the letters like this, and we'll click on OK, and then we'll reduce the size a bit. So we'll reduce the size, so I'll use the positioning option to also position my text to somewhere here. And I also want to make it bolder a bit, so I'll select it and I'll come to style and I'll make it bold, and I click on OK. So the next thing I want to do is to add the date. So I'll click on the plus icon here, and then I come to text, and then I double click to edit, and the date is from 18th to 23rd of April. So we'll have it here like this, and then we'll change the font from this. We'll change the font from this to we'll look for a serif like font. So we'll change it to something like this, and then we'll click on OK, and then we'll reduce the size of the text, reduce it, and then next thing is to change the color. So I'll change it to a gradient color, the same with what I have up there. Change it to a gradient, and then I will give it a stroke, a black stroke. So I have it neatly like this. So the next thing I want to add is the next thing I want to add is, let me lock this layer so that it doesn't keep moving. So the next thing I want to add is April 2022. So click on the text icon, and then we'll type April, and we'll break it 2022, and we'll click on OK. So we'll bring it down this way, and then we'll change the color. So but the color we'll be using for this is going to be a greenish a light green color. So we're going to be using a light green color for this. So we'll select the text option, and then we'll select the color, and then we'll select on gradient. So we'll use something like this, then we'll edit it, and then we'll change this to CACC11, and we have it there like that. So the next color we want to use is a darkish green. So bring it all the way somewhere here, and then we'll click on OK, and then we accept. So the next thing we want to do is to change the font of our text. But before that, we would like to change the alignment of the text. So align it to the center here, and we'll click on OK, and then we'll go to font, and then we'll change the font to something like this, and we'll click on OK. So the next thing we want to do is to give it a stroke, and this one we're going to be using a red stroke around it. So we'll give it a stroke, and we'll increase it all the way to 7px, and then we'll click it, and then we'll bring it downward like this, and we also want to adjust this like this. I'll also want to place this. So let's use the positioning option. So we use the positioning option, and then we'll drag this like this, and we'll place it there neatly. Also use the positioning option for this, and then we'll place it neatly like this. So I think everything else is perfect. So we would like to do one or two adjustments to our our design. So we'll scale this a bit and bring it down. I think it's perfect. So we'll save our design. So we'll save our project as, let's say, Ultimate, okay, Ultima Fit Flyer. So let's save our design. So we save it as a JPG. So we save it to our gallery. So guys, as you can see, our design is looking good and perfect, and we have come to the end of this tutorial. Please guys, kindly support our YouTube channel by subscribing to this channel, and also comment on our videos. If you have a suggestion of a video you want us to be doing, you suggest in the comment section below. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.